two young boys ventured far away from their village. They climbed a hill and looked down. In the distance, they saw three long trucks, each one full of men in uniform, all carrying machine guns. As fast as they could, they ran to tell the elders of what they saw, leading the elders to come out and inform the villagers. Fear and panic struck the hearts of the villagers like thunder. Now you see, this village belonged to a Southern Sudanese tribe called Buya. This happened in 1960 during the civil war between the central government's army and the Southern Freedom Fighters. Many atrocities were committed by the central government's army. The fear that struck the hearts of the villagers was the knowledge of what was to come. However, on that day, one individual decided that this would not be the fate of their village. That individual asked the villagers to gather all the weapons in the village. The individual asked the elders to gather the children and women and head to the jungle for protection. The individual gathered the 6 machine guns they were given and positioned them in 6 different locations. As the army trucks reached the village entrance, boom, 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 they were ambushed by what they thought was an opposing group of men. The commanding officer then sent soldiers to overtake what was perceived to be multiple attackers. The individual was captured by a soldier and was then executed. As the person lay dead on the ground, the soldiers could not help but gather around the dead body in shock. What they had believed to be an attack conducted by 6 men that took out 2/3 of their convoy was an attack conducted by a single woman. This is not the only story to be told depicting the strength, innovation, and intuition of the African woman. Today, I will be sharing with you insights into the areas of military, spirituality, and entrepreneurship through moments in history from the African continent that illustrate how key successes in various African communities can be attributed to the qualities in their women. Qualities that were harnessed, honed, and valued through gender equality in pre-colonial Africa. As we travel across the vast continent of Africa in time, we come across the Ijisu tribe of the Ashanti in what is present-day Ghana. There we meet Ya Ashantawe, queen mother of the tribe, who raised and led an army of thousands against the British colonial forces in Ghana in their effort to subjugate the Ashanti and seize the golden stool, the Ashanti tribe national symbol of unity and sovereignty. Ya Ashantawe mobilized thousands of Ashanti warriors and for 3 months laid siege to the British fort of Kumasi. The British colonizers had to bring in thousands of reinforcement and artillery to break the siege, exiling Ye Ashantawe to the Seychelles. In exile, she lived her life until her death. Ye Ashantawe's War, as is presently known, is one of the last major wars in the continent of Africa to be led by a woman. Africans are known for their spiritualism and love for religion. In ancient Africa, women were often the most powerful spiritual figures in the land. For example, Nehanda Charwe Nia Gasikana, a female spiritualist leader and a key leader in the first Chamaranga. She's from Mashonaland, Zimbabwe, by the way. She was considered to be the female reincarnation of the oracle spirit Nehanda. After she was captured by the British settlers, she predicted that her spirit would return and lead the second Chamaranga, or the War of Liberation, which eventually led to the independence of Zimbabwe. As we continue our travel across the continent of Africa in time, we come across the Igbo nation. The Igbo people are a subgroup of a Yoruba people, an ethnic group of Western Nigeria. Among the Igbo people, we find a rich tradition of entrepreneurship, dominated by the women. The Igbo women were known for their highly developed business acumen, which they use for the economic upliftment of their societies. They are accredited with the development of a trade and market system, which benefited their communities and made them the economic powerhouse of their nation. Gender equality is sewn into the traditional fabric, African fabric of society. But what is the status of women in Africa today? As you can see from the slides, women in various African countries lag behind men in the areas of employment, literacy, and politics. Why is the experience of women in Africa today not the experience of African women from the past? Africa was colonized twice. First, by the Muslim Ottoman Empire, and then by the Christian European empires. According to Gereakai Chingu, a scholar at Harvard University, in the years just before colonization, African women were largely equal to African men. However, during colonialism, Chingu points out that colonial Christianity brought the concept of the Victorian woman to Africa. In another word, a woman who should stay in the private domain and leave the real work to men. Consequently, with the arrival of the Victorian concepts of women, African women were excluded from the new religious, political, and socio-economic systems. The freedoms, rights given to women in traditional African cultures were discontinued. In this new way of life, according to activist Cynthia Similane, African women were reduced to second-class status and did not share power with men, just as African men were reduced to second-class status and did not share power with the colonizers. This way of life or culture has taken root as a consequence of generations living in colonial, post-colonial, and neo-colonial environments within Africa. In fact, in 2012, I started a nonprofit organization called Africa's Promised Youth Leadership Club. In working with the youth, I found that gender equality was viewed as a foreign concept, as un-African. It must be made known that the gender inequality that exists in Africa today is a continuation of the legacy of colonialism. It is my hope that African men join African women in the fight against colonial ideas that still suppress them today. The third Chamaranga must be to free the African woman from the fences and bars of Victorian ideas. Africans must restore to the African woman the freedoms, right, dignity, and respect she once enjoyed in pre-colonial Africa. Gender equality is inherently African. Gender equality is traditionally African. Gender equality is African. Thank you.